World Development Report 2014. Risk and Opportunity. Managing Risk for Development. Risk Management as a Tool for Development, with Norman Loayza, Director, World Development Report 2014.
Let me ask you a question. Will you be ready when a crisis strikes or when an opportunity knocks at your door? To be ready, managing risk effectively is key. But what is risk management? It is the process of confronting risks, preparing for them, and coping with their effects. Let me give you 4 examples of good risk management. And they are taken from the experience of countries around the world. The first example has to do with natural disasters, and it is taken from the experience of Bangladesh. In 1970, a large cyclone hit Bangladesh, claiming over 300,000 lives. A cyclone of similar magnitude hit the country in 2007, but this time the number of fatalities was reduced from 300,000 to 4,000. So what changed? What produced this improvement? Number one, a nationwide program to build shelters from only 12 shelters in 1970 to over 2,500 in 2007. Also, there was an improved forecasting capacity and a relatively simple but effective system for warning the population. The second example has to do with international financial crisis, and it is taken from the experience of 3 very diverse countries, the Czech Republic, Kenya, and Peru. The 3 of them, as many others around the world, suffered considerably from the global financial crisis in the 1990s. However, they withstood and recovered strongly from the 2008-09 international crisis. So what produced improvement? They had more prudent financial policies, and also they had a better macroeconomic stance with better control inflation, a smaller fiscal and current account deficit, and increased international reserves. In this way, they were able to use countercyclical policies in response to their growth downturns. The third example is related to food insecurity, and it is taken from the experience of Ethiopia. Following the 1999-2000 drought in Ethiopia, the poorest 40% of the population lost 60 to 80% of their assets. In comparison, the wealthiest lost just 6%. As a reaction to this calamity, in 2005, Ethiopia launched its Productive Safety Net program. This was targeted to protect the most vulnerable from food insecurity and to build community assets to counteract effects of droughts through public works. By 2009, Ethiopia's safety net was the largest program of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, supporting 7.6 million people that had been chronically food insecure. The last example has to do with innovation and presents the positive side of risk. It is taken from the experience of India. Rainfall is cited as a key concern for 89% of rural farmers in India. This fear of drought has led many poor farmers to favor sturdy subsistence crops over higher return but more delicate cash crops. After the introduction of rainfall insurance in the 2000s, they have been less reluctant to take risks in search of higher yields. They have increased by 1/3 the land devoted to high return cash crops, and they have also increased their investments in fertilizers, seeds, pesticides, and other inputs. In these 4 examples, what made the difference? It was responsible and effective risk management. Of the 5.5 billion people living in developing countries, over 20% live on less than $1.25 per day, which means that they are in extreme poverty. The situation is actually even more delicate once we consider that almost 75% of people in the world live on less than $4 per day. Despite some progress that we have seen in the last 2 decades, many people remain vulnerable, and risk management can be a powerful tool for development. How can risk management contribute? Effective and responsible risk management can save lives as in the case of natural disasters in Bangladesh and food insecurity in Ethiopia. It can prevent crises, as in the case of the Czech Republic, Kenya, and Peru in the face of a global financial crisis. It can also unleash opportunities, as was the case for poor farmers in India. We can say that the dual objective of risk management is, number one, to produce resilience. And resilience is the ability to mitigate losses from adverse shocks and to foster recovery. But risk management is not only about defense and resilience. It is also about achieving prosperity. And prosperity is obtained by improving the benefits from pursuing opportunities. To do this, undertaking new ventures that involve larger risks but also larger benefits is key. Throughout the course, we will focus on the process of risk management, addressing 4 questions. Number 1, why is risk management important for development? I hope that the examples that I have provided have given you an insight as to why risk management is so important, particularly for developing countries and for the poor. Number 2, how should it be conducted? Risk management consists of preparation and coping, and that in turn, preparation consists of acquiring knowledge and obtaining protection and insurance. Number 3, what obstacles prevent people and societies from conducting it effectively? This is important because even though we know what the right steps for risk management are, very often we find that people and societies do not conduct it effectively. And we will learn the importance of lack of resources and lack of information, missing markets and missing public goods in this regard. And number 4, how can these obstacles be overcome? We will argue throughout this course that the obstacles to risk management can be effectively overcome if different systems in society work jointly together. And we are referring to households, communities, enterprises, the financial system, the state, and the international community. They can all contribute in different but important ways. Enjoy the course, and I hope that once you have finished it, you will say yes to the question, will you be ready when a crisis strikes or when an opportunity knocks at your door? Thanks.